Hello, and welcome to Morning with a Mentor. My name is Diller Schwartz, and I am your host. Please join me on Wednesday mornings at 8:30 a.m. while I interview top talent in our KW Austin family.
Really, the thing that you can control the most is contacts. And if your closings are lower than you'd like them to be, you want to backtrack all the way to the front of that line and improve your contacts. So increase your number of conversations about real estate with potential buyers and sellers. Gena Carter, CEO of the James Willoughby team. We are one of the top producers out of the Southwest Market Center. We've been doing this for a very long time. I come from a background in hospitality and have lived in Austin since 1999.
And before you were on the Willoughby team, tell us a little bit about your role as a buyer's agent, listing agent, however you want to title that.
So my first 2 years after leaving corporate America and getting into real estate, I put my head down and decided I was going to build my business through open houses instead of tapping into my 5,500 SOI. Because like most new agents, I didn't want to call people that know me when I didn't feel confident in what I was doing. So I did 5 open houses a week for an entire year, and I closed 50 transactions my first year. 30 of those were from open houses.
Solid. Okay. So we know, like she just said, Gena is the CEO of a real estate team. However, she leads so many agents and really gets them up and going and into production. So when I ask these questions, Gena, if you could answer more in what your expectation is for agents on the team. So first of all, what are your expectations for them to prioritize every day?
So we kick off every day with some kind of sales team gathering. So Mondays is an hour-long team meeting where we talk about previous week and what's happening this week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do a 30-minute role play where we're practicing our conversations. And then on Fridays, Diller actually trains our team for an hour and has been for a very long time.
So if you weren't on a team or you aren't on a team, you could easily just mastermind with other agents, right? Getting those meetings together and role playing for 30 minutes a day.
Correct. And I welcome people to join our sales role plays that aren't on our team.
Okay, and we'll drop that information in the chat box as well as an email to Gena's team so that you can join in on those. I join in on them on Friday as well, so they're really fun. Okay, so what are the expectation for lead gen goals to be in the top one? I mean, you know a lot about Austin. You network with a lot of agents, but what do you think about lead gen goals for agents?
Well, since I have been doing this for 11 years and the market is different every year, sometimes even more frequently than that, we shift gears on what that is. And I would say right now with the market and election year and interest rates being where they are, we triple down. So what we could do 2 years ago for contacts to appointments to closings is now 3 times that.
So can you go through that, what you just said one more time so we can take those notes? What you're monitoring and setting, tracking, sorry, that word was hard for me to come up with, is contacts to what?
Contacts to appointments, and then
Okay.
appointments to agreements, and then agreements to pendings, and in this market, pendings to closed.
I think I got all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me repeat that. So you guys track how many contacts it takes to get an appointment, how many appointments it takes to get an agreement. And for those of you who are questioning what language we're using, an agreement, she means a buyer's rep or a seller rep agreement signed. And then once that's signed, do they actually go pending? And then from pending to closed?
Yeah.
So what do we do when we have a lower rate, or what do you have a ratio, or right now I know the market's crazy, but what are we looking for out of those numbers?
So really the thing that you can control the most is contacts. And if your closings are lower than you'd like them to be, you want to backtrack all the way to the front of that line and improve your contacts. So increase your number of conversations about real estate with potential buyers and sellers.
I know that a lot of our agents are doing a lot of open houses right now to have these conversations. Open houses are obviously the lowest hanging fruit. You even said it yourself by doing so many of them when you first started. Any tips on how to increase traffic in your open houses?
Yeah. Do what nobody else wants to do. I always put out more than 20 signs. I had balloons attached to my signs. Yeah, it doesn't feel good in August when it's 150 degrees. It also doesn't feel good when there's a bunch of very high traffic intersections and you almost get killed. Blood, sweat, and tears, right? So all the things that nobody else is doing and is somewhat exhausting, even when you think about it, is what I did. So lots of signs, lots of conversations ahead of time. So I would door knock, I would circle call, and then I would do the open house. And the signs were the thing that brought most people to my open houses that were not represented. And I was able to set an appointment and take them all the way to closing.
All right. Okay, so you've checked your priorities. We know what our lead gen goal is. We know what we're tracking. How do you know that an agent won the day? How do you know that you won the day?
Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own conversion rate based on those metrics that we talked about before. And they know how many conversations they need to have in order to set the amount of appointments they need to set in order to close the amount of closings they want 2 to 3 months in the future. So it's really as simple as that. That's what we talk about.
So the path is in the math. You just said something I was gonna ask you to clarify, but I forgot it. I'll think of it in the middle of my next thought. Okay, so you guys have a pretty high standard on your team for closings. I know that you have a pretty high standard for yourself as well. So here's my favorite question of Morning with a Mentor. We're gonna go, let's go buyers right now.
Mhm.
If you have to get one home under contract in 14 days or less, what do you do?
I am circle calling, door knocking, and holding open houses, and open houses plural, lots of open houses. The 1 a week, the 2 a week thing, I feel like people get a little caught up because that's what everybody does. I used to hold open houses like I was a builder sales agent at a model home. I would stay there all day. Why not? I mean, if I don't have enough business to keep me busy, I need to be prospecting, and I prospected through open houses.
So on the open houses, are you jumping around? Are you going north, south, east, west? Are you trying to plant your feet in a smaller area so that people know, this is branded to you? This is the agent in the area.
Initially, I was just trying to get my sea legs and figure out what a good formula was. And in order for me to do that, I'd take whatever I could get. And then as I got pretty good at it, I ended up doing one single open house 5 times in 1 week, which meant I got a lot of traffic through that one house over that 5 day period. And again, circle called, door knock ahead of time. And I did that multiple times before I hit my open houses.
I don't think I've had anyone else on the call say to do it that with that sort of magnitude, and I like that because it's also easy, right? You can put your signs out and then leave them out. All my signs got thrown away this weekend, but it's
Sometimes,
okay.
sometimes that works
Yeah.
out. Sometimes it doesn't.
Um, it's okay. Whatever. Someone else wanted some dealer group signs. I hope they made wallpaper. All right. So, the next question is, we ask everyone, what is an action item that's maybe unique or you just feel like needs to be on their calendar? Some of the items that we have received are some of the suggestions that other agents have told us, things like end send 10 handwritten notes weekly. Schedule your open houses by 3 p.m. every Wednesday. Door knock 10 homes. Oh my gosh. Mike Ray just interrupted this call to bring me this hat.
Hey, Mike.
Okay. So what is an action item that you feel like has to be on an agent's calendar? Let's talk about let's go back to maybe um you're within your first 2 years.
Mhm.
What has to be on the calendar?
I mean, I think that it won't be a surprise to hear that it's circle calling, door knocking, open houses. But I would say if I was going to get real specific, do whatever you can initially, but try to build relationships with listing agents who are heavy hitters in the area that you want to do business. And if they are listing heavy, then become the buyer specialist for that area to get your sea legs before you can become that listing specialist. So I did 5 open houses a week because I created relationships with people, with agents who would trust me to do their open houses. And pretty quickly, they would send me their list of coming soon open houses and let me create the schedule around it. And that, I think, is kind of the next level formula for success with open houses.
So build relationships with agents. That's actually something in Morning with a Mentor that we've not really taken a deep dive into. Really good point there. And actually, Jana, once again, if you're driving, you don't have to turn on the camera. Please be safe. I think that you're heading down that path. I have been watching Jana do these open houses, and then she texted me the other day and she said, I can't actually be there this weekend. I've got an engagement. So she went the week ahead of time and did a video to her social media to everyone.
Mhm.
And I've noticed her signs. She has a name tag on. So Jana, I think that you're heading down that trajectory, and scheduling some time to chat with Gina may be something you should do. Okay, so let's
Thank
talk
you.
about the relationship with other agents. You guys have a team. How do we contact you if someone on the call or someone listening in wants to discuss being on a team and or getting on an open house list for you guys?
Call me, email me. I'm quick to respond to both. You have my number, Diller, so throw that in the chat, and my email, throw that in the chat. But yeah, I'm a big advocate of building a business through open houses. I've done it, and I've learned so much throughout that strenuous year. And I continue to do open houses. I just didn't do them 5 days a week. But I'm a huge advocate, and I know that it's still such a great way to build your business.
All right. Anything else in terms of navigating through the market right now that you would like to share with anyone who watches this video? Um, what are some tips and tricks?
Just do what nobody else is willing to do. Go big. Like, find the thing that you know you can put your heart and soul into, and do it in a bigger way than anybody else. I used to teach Ignite classes, and I had a kid in one of my classes that said because I did 20 to 25 signs, he was going to do 50. And he did 50 signs at each of his open houses. And I cried for him because that just sounded terrible, but I was proud of him. And that, I think that that's what it takes, is that there's so many agents for buyers and sellers to choose from. What's going to differentiate you? What are you willing to do? What's going to be your one thing? And just put your entire being behind it.
Perfect. All right. Do you guys have any questions, Travis or Jana? I know that Jana just said her camera's not working for some reason. If you're somewhere that you can unmute yourself, if you guys have any questions, we have a few minutes left.
Yes, I got a question.
Go for it.
Um, how do you differentiate your open house signs when all you have is generic signs to start out with?
I do something shiny, flashy. So I used to do Mylar sign or Mylar balloons. I know that helium's a little bit different commodity today than it was back then, but like streamers, like just anything that's shiny that'll catch people's eyes. Pinwheels, like something that will make you look different than everybody else. I have a past client who still says those damn blue balloons, because she came to one of my open houses and ended up buying and selling, and told me at the open house that there was no way that I'd be able to find the house that she wants. And then 4 months later, she was in her new house. So they work.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, did you have a question? I think I saw your screen light up, but I wasn't sure.
Um, no, I didn't unmute. I had my curiosity is always just kind of like, what is your strategy for picking those open houses, right? You said like pick an area, but there, I mean, like there is a strategy to picking open houses because sometimes, and if you don't know the areas, right? Like I think in Round Rock, you kind of have to get a permit for
Mm-hmm.
things. Do you have kind of like a go-to guide of like if you're doing an open house here or like that kind of vibe, almost like a roadmap? Because
I
I think
wish.
Diller, like for example, Diller, for example, Diller will have her assistant send out the list, and I'm always like, okay, like which ones are staged, right? Because the staged ones are always prettier, and people like those a lot, and blah blah blah. And like I understand the marketing capacity and potentially annoyingness of just being very unique. So like I have a crap ton of um open house signs, and to kind of build on what Jana was saying, another agent that I spoke to, she said have your separate Sunday ones and your separate Saturday ones. So she always does an open house every single Saturday from 11 to 2. And then she always does an open house every Sunday from 1 to 4. So she'll put those signs out so people know the time specifically that it's going to be open. And I was like, okay, well, if it's about being obnoxious, like I ordered an 8-foot cutout of myself to put in the front yard. And then I ordered like the individual letters OPENHOUSE, which was a shit ton of money. But I was like, hey, you know, like if I'm going to be obnoxious, like my biggest problem that I've had so far is that I don't like bringing everything back around to real estate. So if I have like my personality speak for itself, then that's like my way of being able to connect with keep people in that capacity. But I think like that's my number one thing that's kind of like a limiting belief or like a hesitancy is because like I don't know all the ins and outs of the neighborhoods, and I don't have the capacity to be like, oh yeah, they took my signs and threw them away, oh well, I'll get more. Like I'm like, oh
No, I
well.
mean, and those rules change all the time. So that's even if we had something right now, it would have to be updated on a very regular basis. So I would say find an area that you know right now isn't going to have those rules around it, and just really hone in on it. And I did a lot in 04, and they don't have a lot of rules in 04. So like neighborhoods that don't have HOAs, you know, not to say that they don't have rules around it, because they might, but neighborhoods that don't have HOAs have a better likelihood of not taking your signs because of a rule. But I would definitely do your research. I researched so much before I did my open houses, and I knew exactly what was active, pending, recently closed. I knew what other open houses were going to be taking place around the same time as mine. I knew where the closest coffee shop was so that I could take my the appointments that I set, I could take them to that coffee shop and talk more about their specific search. And so those are the kind of things that I would do. But I love that you are going bold with these fun things, because I do think that that's the separation that you need in order to stand out. So good for
Cool.
you.
Well, and
Awesome. Thank you.
Travis, you know, if you don't have an area yet, maybe that's like real estate related, that you're like, I know all of these stats. Go somewhere where you can talk about the lifestyle around there. Like, oh yeah, I like over here because I jump on the trail and there's this entrance to the park down here, and my favorite, I don't know, restaurant or taco shop or brewery. Um, that is sometimes better because it's easier to build rapport, and you look like the guy that I need to call because you remembered the taco place or the, you know, the where to hang out, the schools or something like that. So just dig deep. I mean, you've also been in the medical industry, maybe going closer to some hospitals where that just comes out a little bit more natural to you.
Yeah, because that's what
Um,
everybody wants to hear about at an open house. Let's talk
well,
about
but like you're
degenerative
gonna have
conditions and diseases.
the most northern part of 78745 is tons of medical professionals because of the James Casey area and all the hospitals and those super modern, you know, easy lock and leave type of lifestyle. So you may just get it may be easier for you to build rapport where they just want to call you back versus like the stats of, hey, there's 5 actives and 2 pendings and whatever. And I encourage everyone to do that. I mean, I don't really talk about real estate in open houses, but just go somewhere where you can easily build rapport because the conversation's a little bit more natural.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think that's a fair point. I personally don't really have issues building rapport. We get along with people pretty well, pretty quick. But that's a really good point that I guess I didn't think about. And most of the medical professionals that like I connect with are of my age demographic, and those are all referrals because they're graduating medical school and going to residency. So then it's like, okay, this one's going to Louisville, that one's going to New York, this one's going to Newport, that one's going to New Orleans, blah blah blah. So always good to brainstorm though.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're finished. Any other questions, Jana? Anything else? I put Gena's information in the chat. I know her team is very, very heavy with listings. So if you guys want to email her, I'm sure she can get you on a list with her listing coordinator who sets those up. And then also, like she said, you guys are more than willing to go go join in on some Legion and some role play. They do them on Zoom and in person. They have a cool office down in South Austin. And then also, if anyone's ever interested in figuring out what the difference in a team and individual is, I know she's always willing to have that conversation.
Yep.
Where is her office down Southways?
It's off of
Like
South
where
Congress.
in the building?
Oh, no.
You're not in.
Yeah, we have a franchise office. It's off of South Congress and Stastny.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I'll shoot you a text message.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for your time.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Dee.
you.
Thank you.